West Ham have seen our form dip in recent weeks as we travel to the St Mary's Stadium to take on Southampton on Tuesday, tomorrow night. After a terrific run, David Moyes' men have begun to falter ever so slightly, winning just one of our last 5 matches. Sunday's, and that's yesterday's result, 2-2 draw against Brighton, was perhaps the most worrying display yet, with Moyes' conservative, yes, you can say that, team selection leading to a subpar display from which the West Ham were fortunate to rescue a late point through Thomas Soucek. And of course, Southampton came off, I suppose you could call it a disappointing result on Boxing Day with a goalless draw at Fulham. Welcome back to West Ham United. I am Anton, I'm joined by Matt, you're there. Matt, Southampton, talk to me about it, mate.
I don't know. You always get one plucky team each year, didn't you? The team that don't be plucky as in they're lucky. I mean, as in like they play well and they push above expectations. You know, last year it was Sheffield United who played really well, and then they should have got Europe. And I think had it not been for the pandemic and the lockdown, they probably would have made it because their form when we came back was awful. But before that, they done really well. Southampton, you know. If you think back to almost a year ago, just over a year ago, they got smashed like 9-0 by Leicester. And everyone was calling for Hasenhüttl to go. And he kept them up. They looked really good. Now they're like flying up towards the top table, pushing for Europe, even possibly outside of the Champions League. I mean, it's a mental season, but they are the epitome of it.
We've always known, though, when you look at Southampton's team, haven't we, Matt? There's players there that kind of, especially in our group chat, you know, one of the guys loves Ward-Prowse and has always said he'd love for him to be in the West Ham setup. And you know, I'm a massive advocate for Danny Ings. I know he's not going to make the game, but I think he's a top-notch player. And I mean, he's just proven people wrong left, right and centre. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. We've got some good results over them over the years. But I think this one's going to be a little bit different. I really do. I'm coming off the back of the Brighton game. I'm not as confident as what I normally am.
It will depend on Southampton. I mean, funnily enough, I was just thinking about this the other day. We always seem to play them at Christmas. I don't know why. Like, you know, you can talk conspiracy theories or, you know, if you look back, we always seem to play them in that run of fixture period, like between 20th and like the New Year. We always seem to play them. It's been like the last couple of years. But you never know what team's going to turn up. Because in the last couple of years, they always seem to be in form.
Yeah.
And then we play them and their form just goes out the window. And they like, even last year, when we played them at Upton Park and we won Upton Park, we played them at London Stadium, we won 3-1. They were in form at the time. And then Hassel rotated the team for some reason. We beat them and they just couldn't get to grips with the physical game. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not. If they turn up and we play like we played yesterday,
oh, don't get me started, mate.
We're going to be in trouble.
Tell you what. Well, let's hold our thoughts. Let's all hold our thoughts on West Ham just now, because obviously we want to have a little chat about the opposition. So, of course, Matt, it's time to have a look and talk about Southampton. And I'd like everyone to welcome Dan from the Saints View. Dan, thank you very much for joining us tonight. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Professional introduction, that was.
I don't know if I'd call it professional, mate. Amateur hour. This is what we call the amateur hour for the YouTube channels.
Yeah, no, it's good, man. Good.
So, yeah, Dan, you're part of a YouTube channel, Saints View. Do you want to give everyone a bit of a rundown?
Yeah, Saints View. I mean, I think we've got pretty similar ideas for our channels and setups. You know, we were just talking off camera. Yeah, Saints View, we've been running for 2 years. Pretty much the only active fan channel for Saints fans at the moment. Just trying to get our way through what's been a crazy season, creating as much content as we can, covering what's been some excellent football.
Yeah, absolutely, mate, absolutely. Well, of course, as Matt said in his intro about the turnaround, really, and the game I can't help but shake, and I can't shake it out of my head, was that result against, it was Leicester, wasn't it? The goals were just goals lower coming in against Southampton, and at that point, what was your thoughts as a Southampton fan, and how did you think that this particular manager was going to try and turn this around?
Well, I mean, it's thinking back a long way, to be honest, and I think it feels a lot longer ago than it actually was because of how big the turnaround and how significant the turnaround's been. I think initial thoughts were around the idea of, this could be a turning point. Obviously, as an optimist, you think it's going to be a turning point. Of course, when you lose 9-0 in the Premier League, it's quite hard to be optimistic. But from a personal point of view, it was never down to Hasenhüttl. There were calls for him to go from some fans, but it was completely different to other scenarios we'd had, because I think we'd sacked Pellegrino and Mark Hughes within a year, maybe less than that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like it was more down to the players. Some players just not committing themselves to the system. Just mentality wasn't there. We'd had a few bad results already that season, and I think everyone forgets that we were down to 10 men for 80 minutes of that game, and Leicester I think they were second in the league at that point. So it was literally the worst possible scenario. But it was definitely a turning point in hindsight. And a year and a bit later, we look on and we've had a fantastic 2020 on the pitch. And yeah, that does seem to be the turning point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a massive turnaround. And, I mentioned there about some of the players. And I mean, what's the thoughts on the recruitment over the summer? I mean, listen, we know that everyone's in a similar situation, but what was your thoughts on the recruitment this summer from Southampton, and what difference have they made?
There was a bit of frustration because, I think having had a couple of seasons in and around the relegation zone, of course, not relegated, we're still in the Premier League, as we know, but I think there was a little bit of frustration in the sense that we didn't spend more. There hasn't been that much ambition from our owners from China since they came in late 2017. The CEOs admitted, there's a bit of frustration. I think Ralph himself has come out and said, he needs more funds, really. Off the top of my head, Carl Walker-Peters is my personal signing of the summer. I think he's been absolutely sensational, but that doesn't feel like a new transfer because he joined us last January on loan from Spurs, and then we made it permanent in the summer. But since lockdown, he's the one out of the new additions who I think has just been absolutely sublime. We had a pretty average right back in Cedric, and then Jan Valery were coming in and out. And then when Cedric went to Arsenal, we said in January we need a new right back. And then when you're told a loan deal for, obviously coming from Spurs, but someone who hasn't really played, you're thinking, is he really going to be the man? But then he came into the sides after restart, and since then he's just been phenomenal.
Yeah. There's no ifs or buts about it, though. The manager seems to be getting the best out of the players. Like you said, the turnaround's happened, but he's getting the best out of a mixture of the players that you've brought in and the players you've got in the side. So we're not remotely denying, but we want to talk about Ward-Prowse because I've got a keen. I mean, we all like football, we all like his style of play, and he does seem to be like the real deal. I mean, talk to me about him and how important he's been this season to you guys.
He's vital. He's absolutely vital. What Ralph Hasenhüttl has done to this man is beyond just ridiculous. It's been so impressive. He was on the cusp of possibly leaving the club before Hasenhüttl came in. I think at the time he was linked to clubs like Watford, maybe even a playoff contending championship side, and which I think would have been a shame because obviously we know about his set pieces. That's been everything he's had in it. He's had that his whole career. But this season and sort of towards the end of last season, what he's done in terms of becoming more of a box-to-box midfielder, being a bit more rough, going in for that challenge, winning that ball, winning that tackle. He's completed his all-round game. And, we talk about the free kicks, of course. He's a sensational free kick taker. But now he adds a bit more resilience in the midfield. And he's a vital presence. I think it's either last season or in 2020, he's covered more ground in the Premier League than any other player. That tells you exactly how good he's become recently. Yeah. And he's an England contender. He has to be going to the Euros in the summer.
Yeah. Matt, when it's always really good to hear from an opposition point of view, but when you think of Southampton, who are the players that you're fearing the most in preparation for tomorrow?
Well, say we already mentioned Ward-Prowse. Che Adams. He came in for big money last year, and he wasn't really, it took him a while to score, but I don't know, since he started linking up with Danny Ings, I know he's not available, but he seems to have moved Che Adams' game on, and he's starting to show now what he was doing in the Championship, and he's getting goals, he's getting the right places. They're even now getting the best out of Walcott, who's starting to do stuff again. who's the guy that loves scoring against West Ham. Like
I know, I was going to bring
remember his
that up,
Arsenal
but
days.
we'll maybe talk about that in a minute.
And even Redmond, I don't know if he'll play, but he's a guy that I've always liked. I think we've always been massively underrated as well.
Yeah.
Even when he was playing for like Norwich.
Yeah.
So they've got options, Southampton.
But it's true though, like when Dan, we were talking there about the manager bringing the best out of the players. You look at Shea Adams. I mean, he's got 4 goals and 4 assists for Hughes this season. I mean, that's a very, very top-notch important player. That's a player that West Ham were linked to as well, wasn't it? We never got over the line. That was another one of those players we never got over the line, and another club beat us to his signature. But he's been directly involved in 8 goals for Southampton this year. And what have you scored? You've scored 26 goals, only conceded 19. So he's probably another one. But I mean, what a big blow to not have Danny Ings, to be honest. I mean, when you first signed him, I don't know what your thoughts were, but he's really turned out to be the real deal, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, initial thoughts when he signed wasn't how I feel about him now, I have to say. But yeah, it's a strange one with Ings this season. He's not been at his best. I think he's got 6 goals, which obviously is very good going. But since he came back from his injury, he got a penalty against Brighton and scored that. But then in the other games, he just didn't look too sharp. And maybe a little bit of timeout could do him some good. But in fairness, there were pictures of him in training today, so God knows whether he's going to be in the squad or not. Personally, I'd like to see him rested. I think, he's had his injury issues, and I think that's sort of overshadowed his Southampton career in the sense that everyone's worried. When he's got a niggle or he goes down, is he going to have an ACL injury and is he going to be out for 8 months? Because obviously he's our best player. But yeah, for me, he's sensational. So but you mentioned Shea Adams there. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that's something I did not know was that Ings had even made training at all. I didn't know if he was that close.
It was a surprise for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I suppose, does that make it then that there's an outside chance? I mean, the chances are probably still slim, but if you're looking for a victory to try and push yourselves up to the league, would he make a risk and take a risk in trying to play him for that game tomorrow night?
Yeah, he would. I think he'd put him on the bench and put him on for the last 20 minminutes if it's a draw, or if we're drawing or losing.
And now that really starts to change the dynamics because Matt, we talk a lot about players who just love playing against West Ham, and I'm not, or a player that's just come back from injury, or a player that shouldn't be back from injury but just makes a surprise entrance, and they're the sort of players that West Ham fear the most. It doesn't matter who you are, what ability you've got. If you're struggling for goals, up steps West Ham, you get a goal. And we were talking like that again the other night about when we were talking to the Brighton fan about Glenn Murray. We've just got those top sorts of players, but then on top of that, like Matt mentioned, you've got Walcott. He's come back to his boyhood club. I mean, how's he been performing for you, Dan?
It's a mixed one. I think that obviously you mentioned it's his boyhood club. I think that's the only factor that made Saints fans excited about him coming back. Because if you talk, I mean, from my personal experience, he left when I was 6 years old. So for me, this is my first opportunity really to see Theo Walcott in a Saints shirt. But yeah, he's blown hot and cold. It's either been a sort of 8, 9, or 10 out of 10 performance, or a mediocre 3 or 4. Depending on how he's feeling. But Ralph seems to really rate him, which is obviously a promising sign. We needed another winger in the summer, and to get him in on a loan deal, and it probably will be permanent come next year. It was a good move. Low risk. Fans love him, and he's got 2 goals already. So
and he is the sort of player that can, even though he plays out in the wing, he can penetrate through the middle, and he's fast, he's pacey. Doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know how old he is now, and it kind of scares me to think, because I do remember him starting off his career, and I remember him being that young lad going away with England, bringing his little girlfriend along with him as well. You just can't get that image out of your head. But but I mean, he is there. But I mean, if Ings is going to be missing, you're relying then on the Adams and Shane Long partnership. I mean, if we have a look here, I've actually got the starting lineup that or I thought I did. Maybe I don't actually. Oh, what have I done, Matt? I've not uploaded it. What are the chances? Yeah. If you don't mind, mate, I was just going to say, when it comes to the starting lineup, what do you think will be any changes at all compared to what you put out the last time?
I think there will be changes. I mean, you mentioned Walcott there going through the middle. When Ings was out, he was playing as a striker next to Adams, and it worked in my opinion. I think it did work. He scored his 2 goals so far from a striking position. I think in terms of changes, it will be in the midfield and out wide. I think Adams would definitely start. I think he's one of our fitter players. Ward-Prowse, of course. We can welcome Romeu back after suspension. We only made 2 substitutions against Fulham, and I think they were both after the 85th minute. So I think Moussa Djenepo will be starting. Redmond's out. So we might see Shane Long. We might see a couple of under 23 players who've kind of been on the brink of the first team. Maybe they get given starts. Nathan Teller and Dan and Dulu are the ones I'm thinking of at the moment. So Nathan Teller, a right winger and a strike. But for me, I think if Shane Long's starting the football match come tomorrow night, I think West Ham could be a bit more confident that they've got the 3 points because he's just shot.
It's funny you say that though. Like again, Matt, and I mean Matt, I don't know where you're at with it, but I think Shane Long on his day is a decent striker, but you've not seen his day for a long time, and that's the concern I've got, is when you've got delivery. I mean, there's no ifs or buts about it. When you look at that side there, that there's creativity, there's the ability to penetrate defences. And as of late, Matt, we've been conceding goals again. We've been making sloppy mistakes. That's probably down to Moyes' conservative decisions that he's making in terms of our forward-thinking West Ham. But I can't help but look at that and start to fear the fact that Adams has been directly involved in 8 of your goals this season, and Long's desperate for a goal to push on. And it always tends to happen, doesn't it, Dan, when you've got a player in the background like Danny Ings who's just potentially about to come back into the side, and Long's looking over his shoulder thinking, okay, this is where I need to up my game, because if I don't, I'm going to be dropped back to the bench again.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, he had the opportunity against Fulham and did very little. He put the ball in the back of the net, but it was offside. So for me, in terms of goal scoring, I think Shea Adams is without a doubt the main man. Walcott, you probably put up there as well. And we haven't mentioned him, but Stuart Armstrong's been sensational for the last year and a half. So I'd be backing him to be involved as well.
Yeah, Matt, when you look at that lineup there, then so sorry, Dan. What changes do you physically see again in there? You think it will be Long and Adams up top?
Personally, I think we're going to give that Unundudu from the under 23s a go up front instead of Long, and then instead of Diallo, I think it'll be Romeu, without a doubt. Maybe Walcott for Djenepo for Walcott. But in terms of that back four and the goalkeeper, I think that would stay exactly the same.
So it looks like your manager really does like to. He's not got any fear about changing things, really, does he? When he needs to change them.
No, he doesn't. No. He knows his best 11. We've got a few key players out, but I think he knows who he rates and he'll keep them in.
Matt, before I go back to Dan again, who's the player you genuinely fear the most then, apart from taking away Walcott, the history with... Well, do you know what? Maybe not then. Is it genuinely going to be Walcott?
If he plays that Djenepo, I would fear Walcott more, surprisingly. Because if Djenepo plays and he keeps Walcott on, and say maybe he moves Armstrong in the middle or he drops him, Walcott will move out to their right-hand side.
Yeah.
And if Johnson's there, if we go to this 5 in the back row, okay. If Creswell's there, then Creswell's going to be in trouble. Because we know that Creswell cannot deal with pace. If Djenepo plays, Soufal's going to have a difficult game because Djenepo's a tricky, fast winger as well. I mean, even if he played Shane Long, Shane Long's like... David Moyes would love to have a Shane Long. That's what he wants at the moment. He doesn't want Haller. He wants a guy that's going to run the channels and chase balls. And, I'm sure David Moyes would love to have him himself. And like you said... When a guy's not scoring, when they're out of form, when they need that goal, the old saying is enter West Ham. So, I don't know. It's hard. I mean, I would maybe just pick Ward-Prowse because we tend to give away free kicks. And there's not a lot of teams at the Premier League at the moment that have got a consistent free kick taker.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, anywhere it seems to be within, like, sort of 25 yards, you give it to Ward-Prowse, you're almost giving them a penalty.
Yeah.
So, it's a difficult one. They've got options across the pitch. It's not one. Southampton aren't one of these teams where you can just say, Like even Tottenham, if you ask Tottenham, you say, "Oh, it's just Kane and Son you're worried about at the moment." Southampton, it's no matter who plays, everyone's got something to offer to worry your defence.
Yeah, definitely. Dan, when it comes to the manager at Southampton and you looking in upon West Ham, especially when I've said to you there the recent stats, we've won 1 and 5. We've started off the season really well. Our team selection's a little bit all over the shop. How do you think he's going to line up tomorrow at home against West Ham? And as a fan, looking in upon West Ham, how do you rate West Ham generally?
Well, I'll start with that second point. I think West Ham have had a good season. In all honesty, I think a little bit under the radar in terms of at the moment when we're talking Europe. I think Everton and Aston Villa have been getting loads of plaudits, but then you look at the rest of the table, and West Ham aren't far away at all. I think this year, naturally, with everything that's gone on so far, the table's incredibly tight. If you look there, if you win against us, we go level on points. And then, you're almost near. Chelsea have got a point tonight, so 26. Villa on 26 as well. That's so tight. But West Ham aren't in the conversation. But going into tomorrow, I think we'll, approach as like any game, a game that we want to win, a game we feel really we should be winning. If we've got genuine ambitions of having a top 8 finish, maybe pushing on Europe. So yeah, I think we'll be positive. It'll be any other game really, and we'll try and win it.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, what's your kind of thoughts on how potentially we'll talk about West Ham in a minute, but if you were the Southampton manager, what would you be saying to the players about the game tomorrow, especially the fact we're travelling away from home and the way that recent selection has been at West Ham and performances have been at West Ham?
I don't think Hasenhüttl was bothered about how we line up. I think he's got his team. He knows what he wants to do. I think, honestly, he probably looks at that team from yesterday and thinks if West Ham plays something similar to that in the first 45 minutes, he's going to really fancy it because we were defensive. We invited it on, gave Brighton all of the possession, which they don't have it. We invited shots, attacks, and that's Brighton. No disrespect, they're not the same quality as Southampton. So he's probably excited for telling these players, run at this defence, get in behind, bring the ball up the middle if you can, try and carry it, spread the play, quick passing. It's what they've been doing. I don't think he's going to, we're not a Man City, we're not a Chelsea. He's not going to probably sit there and pick tactics to stop us. He's probably going to look at his team and go, let's do our game and force West Ham to try and adapt to it.
Yeah. Dan, when it comes to West Ham, who's the player you fear the most?
I'll say Mikel Antonio, but I don't know if he's going to be fit, is he? But they've been actually, it's quite funny. Every game he seems to play against Saints, he turns into Ronaldo. So he's
turned into Ronaldo since Project Restart, to be honest.
Yeah, I've rated him, but I don't know. I think Haller's popped up with a couple goals, and at times I've seen him, not playing against Saints, just West Ham being on the TV, and he's been absolutely, useless up front. No service, or he's just not looked involved. But for me, I think from the past 2 games he's played against us, he's scored. The Premier League's full of players who have teams that they like to score against. So for me, I think it's going to be Haller, Jared Bowen as well. I said it before we went to the London Stadium back in February. I was so jealous about you guys getting Jared Bowen. I think he's a cracking player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player in the future. So yeah, probably him. And then if Moran is involved.
Yeah, and I mean the game that I think Matt was talking about when we played Haller, Antonio and Bowen up top at home at the London Stadium when we won the game 3-1, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, but that was like a new dimension for West Ham. We got to see the best of those players. We saw 2 players supporting Sebastian Haller, and that was when we started to see the benefit of giving your striker service, really, to be honest. And it was definitely nice to see, but that's definitely changed a lot recently, in recent weeks anyway. Dan, before you go, mate, what is your predictions for tomorrow night's game?
I think it's got a draw written all over it. I think it's obviously you guys have had 1 day less than we have to recover, but we've got a few key injuries. I don't know. I think I'd like to be positive and go for a 2-1. We've lost our last 5 games against West Ham, so it feels like this is probably the best chance we've had in a while to put an end to that rot. So I'll go 2-1 Saints. I'll be positive.
Yeah, and I listen. You know what? Proper gentleman coming on the show tonight, and I hope you're wrong. I really do. I really do hope you're wrong, because I can't handle West Ham being what we've been doing over the last couple of games. But no, I mean, listen, I don't mind. I quite like looking at Southampton, and I genuinely have got more fear for this game, Matt, than I have over the last 4 or 5 games. I don't know if that's because of, I feel like you've got this kind of, I mean, you've got 26 goals in 15 games, right? You've only conceded 19. You've got 6 clean sheets at Southampton's. There's goals throughout your side. There's assists throughout your side. And you seem to have a reasonable, solid back line. And there's just organisation there. The manager's on top of things. It's like he's just, I don't know, he's just got it all hook, line and sorted out, and I'm a bit fearful about the game tomorrow, if I'm being brutally honest. But Dan, mate, thank you so much for coming on from the Saints View. We'll get a link in the description below and let people know about the channel, etc. And hopefully we can have you on for the return leg.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Yeah,
absolutely. So cheers for that, mate, and we'll speak to you soon.
Have a good.
Take it easy, mate.
Cheers, Dan.
Another great guest, mate, and I hope everyone who's watching is enjoying us having the guests on. I think you're going to hopefully not get fed up with seeing mine and Matt's face over the next couple of days, because you're going to see it a lot more over the next couple of days. But mate, Southampton, I'm genuinely not joking when I say this. I don't have the same feeling. I didn't have the same feeling when we played Leeds. I didn't have the same feeling when we played Chelsea. Not even like the Wolves and Leicester games, to be honest, because
I've normally been quite confident at Southampton.
Yeah, I am as well. Well, let me have.
They're an entirely different team this year.
But Matt, look, let's have a look at the recent fixtures. That's why you're normally not worried about it, because it's been 5 games since we've been defeated by Southampton, and then I mean, we've got a decent record against them, and that's us going back 8 years. So no wonder you're feeling normally like that, but for some reason,
it's a different team this year, mate.
It's a different team.
It's a different team.
Yeah.
And they are, like I said, they are entirely different styles of play, but they are the Sheffield United of this season.
Yeah.
They are the team that weren't expected to be up there, that are up there pushing the top seats, and they're doing it on merit. And they're doing it with an attacking style of play. Well, they're not. Sheffield United done it last year on being solid defensive, making sure everything from the back was protected, and then playing 5 at the back and trying to counter. Yeah. Southampton are attacking teams. I think they lost or drew with Man City, and they should have beaten them. I think they beat Chelsea. They're attacking the big teams, and they're getting results. They're getting points, and they're doing it with an attacking, nice style of play to watch. And it doesn't seem to matter what player misses. It's almost like Hasenhüttl has built an ethos at Southampton and a way of playing, and he's got his players, and he's got like a 22-man squad, and he's got 2 players for every single position, and they each know what their exact job is.
And I think the only difference really between Southampton and Sheffield United is, and again, it's not taking too much away from the Sheffield United of last year, but Southampton have got that team unity with really top-notch individual players in specific positions. So Ward-Prowse is that sort of player that a lot of teams would be chasing. Danny Ings not so much, but yes, they would be now, because he's banging in goals left, right and centre. And you start to work your way through the team, and you see little gems in there, and you're starting to think, right, okay, Sheffield United last year was complete and utter 11, a full 11 side that worked well together. There was not one player that would stick out from the rest, maybe a couple, but not many. And there was just a performance from 11 players. You're getting that from Southampton, but you're getting it from all over the park. You're getting Shea Adams stepping up. He's been involved in 8 goals, mate, and he's gone under the radar because Danny Ings has got 6 goals. But Shea Adams has got 4 with 4 assists. So even though they've lost Danny Ings and it's changed the format up front a little bit, they've still got a player that's capable of scoring goals. And again, mate, it doesn't matter what we say, Shane Long has always got the opportunity. But according to Dan, we're not even sure he's going to start.
Well, like I said, he's a player Moyes would love to have. Maybe not now at his age, but that style of centre forward, Danny Ings, it's very similar to Antonio.
Yeah.
It's the guy that put himself about, will run the channels, take the ball, bring the rest of the team up the pitch. But like I said, like they've got 2 players per position, and when someone comes out, the next guy comes in. At the moment, he's just carrying on the job of the guy that's come out. So they were playing Che Adams and Danny Ings, and Danny Ings was scoring the goals, and Che Adams was getting the assists. And then they've taken Danny Ings out, and they're rotating it between Shane Long and Walcott to play the second centre forward. But then Che Adams is taking Danny Ings' role, and he started scoring the goals.
Yeah.
And then Walcott's in.
Let's take it to our beloved West Ham, mate. So it's time to talk West Ham. And of course, what we usually do is go into the press conference that David Moyes had. Although there's not been a press conference, he's done a press conference on the back of yesterday's, it felt like, defeat against Brighton. But what we're going to do, Matt, is something a little bit different. We're going to jump into the comments because we're getting a lot of digs here, there, and everywhere, mate. And we don't do the comments, we don't do the comics. So let's jump into the comments, Matt, and feed them all, because we know Stell's in there probably winding them all up left, right, and centre. So Scott Randall, hope you're well, mate. Thanks very much for joining us. I've read Southampton are scared of Soucek, and I don't blame any side that's scared of him, to be honest. Harrison Winnett is saying Yannick Vestergaard is out injured for a month, confirmed by who's on Huntsville today. He certainly is, mate, and hopefully that'll help us.
I think I read 4 injuries. I think I read.
Yep.
Danny Ings is one of them. I don't know who the other 2 were.
I don't know if I've got it here. Where is it? Redmond, Ings, and Vestergaard, and it depends if Romeo comes in place of Diallo, but I don't think Diallo's injured, so I think it's 3. Okay. 3 players are guaranteed injured. Unfair on Benrahma. We'll come on to West Ham in a minute. West Ham unofficial, which is Jake, free Benrahma or beware of Stilowaku hoodie. I like the hashtag free Benrahma, it's good. Steve Helson is saying, if we field a rubbish team, don't you guys agree a pitch invasion would be super effective right now? Absolutely effective right now, mate. Good luck with that one. Still saying free. Of course, Still's in there saying free Benrahma. Still doesn't really know what he's talking about, but I'm only joking. Steve Helson, Shag, sorry Fo, I forgot I'm deaf and blind too. Don't know what you 2 guys are talking about. Steve Helson is saying, okay, I'll admit it, I don't hate Southampton. Southampton as a collective effort is why they have been doing so well. The high press is one of the most effective in the league, and that's what we've been saying throughout this show already, and they've got good players in and around there. Okay, we'll come off that in a minute. Neil from Down Under, Bowen definitely needs a break, and I've thought that after a few weeks now, as he really is one trick pony. And other managers have worked out how to negate him, and they do every game. Neil, I don't know if I agree with you on that, but we'll keep that under wraps, Matt, and talk about that when we come to the West Ham selection. Let's see here. I mean, people are talking about having a drink with each other. What are they saying here? Talking about getting a beer glass. Still saying that I want to sell stuff. I don't, but still keeps promoting the beer glass. Dougie Montana, the selection against Brighton was to rest players. Moyes thought he could take the points playing a slow defensive game. He couldn't have been so bloody wrong, Dougie. It's mental, mate. I am raging, to be honest. And Still has obviously agreed with me because he knows I'm right for that one. Haller puts me on a downer. We'll talk about Haller in a minute. Do we think Moyes has the courage to make these changes we want? Probably not. Don't know. Let's again talk about that in a minute. Pam Flower is saying, I reckon Moyes has been having a long think about how he started these last 2 games, and he knows that he has to change things tomorrow. He will leave Haller and put Lanzini in. He'd better. We'll talk about that again in a minute. Long dark tunnel. Haller needs a new light bulb. Ben Davis is saying 2 games now in the next 4 days. Then we play Stockport 10 days from the Everton fixture. What's this here? Hi Pam. What he needs to do is drop Noble for Lanzini, not Haller. Fornals, Lanzini and Benrahma will start tomorrow in place of Johnson, Noble, and he's not said who else he would do. If Foshizi's saying if Noble starts, I'm going to be so annoyed. Poor West Ham, he doesn't deserve this. Southampton are missing 3 key players that we've mentioned, but they do have strength in that. They do have strength in that squad, and they can definitely, like you said, they've got 2 people for each position, haven't they? Really. There's people talking about their team selection, but we will come on to that earlier on. And yeah, I'll just come straight to the end there, and we'll just get straight on to Matt, what the gaffer had to say. So unless Moyes had a press conference today, which we cannot see anywhere, it's been taken from his press conference from last night. So I would like to put it down to how Brighton played more than anything to do with us. We never got in the right positions to cause them problems and to just disrupt their play. I was hoping to get to half time to fix it, but we lost the goal just a minute before half time. David Moyes, what the fuck are you saying, mate?
I mean, at
Talk
least
to
he's
me,
held
Matt.
his hands up.
He has, mate, but come on.
He said he got it wrong. And look, to be fair, there's not many managers that would make a change in the first half. Because obviously that admits they're wrong. But also, what does that do for the confidence of the players that you take off when you've gone, you know what, you're not even worth 45 minutes?
Yeah.
And it is right. I mean, to be fair, we were crap, but they didn't look like scoring. And it was just a shambles of play in the box. That I think Rice tackled someone and he ran into a bottom and the ball ran across for Malpai to turn in. But look, he's basically saying, I think one of the comments up there said that, Moyes wanted to rotate, play the players that play a slow defensive game, and he thought that would be enough. And it wasn't. But he's held his hands up and gone, look, I did get it wrong.
Yeah, but
he managed to get a point out of it. And the only thing I would say, if that was last year, we would have lost.
No, you're completely right. And do you know what? I watched I watched about a minute of Stell's 5-hour show last night, and in one of the minute that I did catch in Stell's 25-hour show last night was him talking about the slow but progressive route that West Ham are taking under Moyes. Now it is slow, but we are progressing. So in 15 games we've got 22 points, in the whole last season. There was a specific stat about 20 points, and it took him longer time to get those 20 points, etc. And you're right, Matt. You're completely right. And I've been thinking a lot about this today. I've been thinking a lot about a lot of people saying this time last year, and it was like, and I even made the comment about Moyes making the team selection against Chelsea. This time last year, that's the team selection that he would have made against Chelsea. This time last year, this is the result. This is the game that we probably would have lost against Brighton, but we've grinded out a draw. But we're not at this time last year, and we're at this time this year when we've got a progressive, forward-thinking West Ham. And I mean, listen, let me read this comment out to you that Moyes has also said. In hindsight, it was not the right decision. It was something we had discussed. I tried to get Jared and Seb playing up front together and hope that the two of them would give us something different. We tried to find a solution to losing Arthur Masuaku and Mickey Antonio. We are looking closely to see if there are other things in the squad. We had a balance in the team, and a way we played which helped us, and we are now trying to find that again. Now, let me just start to dissect this comment ever so slightly. We tried to play Jared and Seb playing up front together, and then he says we're trying to find new things within the squad. You've got the players sitting right in front of you, but you've got something in your high horse about Seb Benrahma, about Saeed Benrahma, and I'm really not sure what it is, mate. Now, myself and young Jake done the review yesterday, and we were just saying, what is it that this player's got to do to try and get onto this team sheet? I mean, think about the impact that Lanzini had when he came off the bench, mate. The game was it was a different game. I mean, it wasn't that West Ham were world beaters, but in comparison to the first half, Lanzini gave us a whole new dynamic. He was creative. He was finding opportunities. He was gaining the ball. His back was to goal. He was then passing it out wide to Yarmolenko. He was passing it out wide to Ben Johnson, and he was just creating things. And he was dropping his shoulder, and he was making players go the wrong way. And it was a little bit like the old Lanzini, and it was crying out for Benrahma. It was crying out for Benrahma, and it was a little bit like Moyes was going, I know everyone wants me to get Benrahma, but I ain't gonna bring him on. And I'm concerned. I'm genuinely concerned because in quick successive games, I've seen old David Moyes decisions kick back in. And is it the Moyes that's conservative to go, let me just get us safe? When in actual fact, Can you afford to? Right, here we go, Matt. Question to you: could we have afforded to put out Benrahma, Lanzini, Haller, Jared Bowen on the park last night?
Yes and no, because it depends what his team is tomorrow. If Benrahma, Lanzini, and then say Bowen start tomorrow, or say it's Lanzini, Benrahma, and Fornals all start tomorrow. Fornals goes on the bench, then you can go, okay, he's basically gone. We've got to play one team, one game, one team the next game. The bit for me was when he didn't come off the bench and he brought Yarmolenko on. Unless he only sees, because Lanzini sort of sat up on the left-hand side yesterday when he come off. From what I could see on the highlights, he looked like he played left mid.
Yeah.
When he kept so, unless he thinks that's Benrahma's position and he had to bring one of the two on because Yarmolenko went the other side, we do have options, but at the same time we're limited in what we can do. I know what he's saying about Masuaku and Antonio because, Antonio, as I said before, I said back at the Villa game when they were bringing Antonio in that as an attacking team we play differently with Antonio up front because he offers us a different way of playing. He does hold the ball up more, he does bully defenders more, he does run in behind. Seb wants it into his feet and then he wants balls into head to get a header and volley on. He doesn't want to run in behind. He won't bully defenders as much. So it's two different styles of play. He's trying to find a way to replicate Antonio. Masuaku as well. We don't have another player that can really replicate what Masuaku does, as strange as it is, considering, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, he was on the list of players to be sold in summer by most people. When he got given a new contract, we all said, it's just so we can secure getting a fee for him. And now it's like, the formation that Moyes wants doesn't click really without him in the team. Because, I don't think Benrahma can play that role. Masuaku essentially is a left wing-back. He's got the ability to carry and take the ball forward, but can also line up as part of a back five. Benrahma can't do that. The formation he was playing at the start of the season, at 5-2-3, he would fit in that as a wider front three.
Well, respectfully, though, what have we really saw from Benrahma?
He's been playing on the left wing, but it's more like wider the front
but
three.
How many minutes has he had on the park?
Not enough.
Exactly. So for how come, apart from the fact that when he's come on the park, he has created two opportunities. What I've physically saw from Benrahma is a creative player who has created two opportunities from a lack of minutes. And also, if you think back to, was it the Fulham game when the player hit the crap penalty, he was off, mate. He was forward thinking, he was gone. And if Fabianski had only saw Benrahma was doing it, everyone else was just wild. We could have made a counter-attack. But the point I'm trying to make is, I genuinely think it's really tough. I'm not digging you out for the comment. I'm just saying, I don't know how we as West Ham fans can massively judge what position is best for Benrahma, apart from when you look at his playing time when he was at Brentford. And when he was playing at Brentford, he predominantly played out on the left, but sometimes he played through the middle. And both times, he performed really well for them. He was their, over 2 seasons, most consistent, high-scoring, high-performing, most effective player. And right now, what we're getting from West Ham is a stop-start to his career. At the time then, when you bring Jared Bowen into the equation, where it's a bit like a static career. But I'm finding that that's maybe down to Moyes and Bowen, because we'll come on to the comments in a minute, but there's a lot of people saying that Bowen needs a rest.
I don't think he does.
I don't think he needs a rest.
He never completes 90 minutes.
And he never plays in the same bloody position. I mean, he was playing up top.
See, this is the thing. I mean, I can't moan at Moyes because he did try. He tried to rotate the team, and it's Christmas and we've got to rotate the players. And then, basically, he probably looked at the players that he wants available. I'm guessing the players he wants available for tomorrow. Took them out. I said, what does that leave us for today?
Yeah.
As in yesterday. He didn't have... If you look at that team, say the team that started, he was like, that's the players I want to really try and get through the game.
I'll bring up the side now. But before we go a little bit further, get your starting 11 that you would like to see play Southampton tomorrow. So as you can see here, I've brought up the side that West Ham started against Brighton. Matt, and we done the preview the night before, and it's completely different to what we expected, to what we got. Now, we're going to start to dissect this team a little bit, but I can't help but think that the side's going to be different again.
I mean, I wasn't far off. I was one player out.
Yeah.
You
said Johnson. You did.
But I said Noble would have been Ben Rama. I'd have had Ben Rama on the wing and Bowen. But I said, if you look at the players on the bench, and he's taken some of the players out and gone, not the defensive players, the attacking players. He's got those attacking players I want for Southampton. Can't drop Haller because we only got one centre forward. What have I got left? And he's gone, well, I can play. But Bowen, he doesn't need to rest because he always seems to rest him. He doesn't play 90 minutes. And it left him with Noble. And he went, if I play him, if I play too defensive, too far deep, Haller's going to be isolated. So he's in fact changed the formation, tucked Bowen inside to give Haller more support. But then it's left you with this, essentially, 8 men behind the ball and 2 up front.
Yeah.
Did not work.
But how coincidental is it, Matt, that when we talk about the lineup and we're playing Southampton, when we think back to that game last season, when Haller was up top, he had Antonio one side, he had Bowen on the other side, he was supported, and the three of them ran riot, and they did run riot, and we could have had more than 3 goals in that game. But since then, we've never really played that supporting role.
I think if you go back to that game, I think we played a 4-4-2.
Interesting.
And I'm pretty sure Antonio played as the front, like actually up front of the 2 alongside Haller. Bowen started on the right wing. And now for the life of me, I can't remember who started on the left-hand side. But I'm sure it might have even been Anderson. But I'm sure we started. It might have been Anderson. It might have been Lanzini.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah, it was a 4-4-2. So it was Haller and Antonio up top. It was Bowen out in the right with Noble, Declan Rice, and Fornals out in the left.
Fornals on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was the front 4 that done the damage, so to speak. It was the wingers and the front 2 because it was a bit like what we do now. Either Bowen or Fornals went on their one side and the other guy dropped back. But then you had Antonio and Haller up top together.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you go back to last year, only about 3 or 4 games we played with them up front together. And every time they'd done it, we won.
Yeah.
But it's like we do it and win, and then Moyes would go, right, now we'll go back to playing one up front again. So we can play the 4-4-2, and we can play them up front together. I mean, it's not far off, though, just moving Antonio out to the wing slightly and playing his up front 3.
Yeah.
Which is basically what we're playing now. It's not hard to do it. It's the options there, but he just doesn't seem to like it. He's basically gone to the game yesterday and said he's tried the formation, he's put players into rest players, gone, let's try and stay in it for an hour, and then we can bring on some of the guys who wanted to rest it for like a half-hour run-out. Except it didn't work because he basically put 8 men behind the ball. He went 3 defenders, he went 5 defenders, 3 CDMs. Yeah. Noble has never been a number 10. He's a very technically gifted player, but he's always been like a box-to-box player, Noble. He was never a number 10.
But the thing is, he's not a number 10, no, right? But we have seen him perform in that role. Early Project Restart, Soucek and Declan Rice and him performed really well. And it's a little bit like Moyes' Moyes remembers little spells. It's like Moyes remembers these little spells of decent play. It's like when you think of the first half yesterday, 35 minutes of the first half was all Brighton and West Ham played awful. In 10 minutes, we actually had an okay performance. I remember thinking back to that game and going, we're looking a little bit more disciplined after the first 10 minutes. But then after I made that comment, we imploded into, I don't know what it was. Let's bring the line up, right, and let's start looking at the lineup and seeing what we'd like to do. So we've got Fabianski blatantly going to be in goal, and then we've got the kind of big decision to make is that Ben Johnson steps in and had a reasonable game, got a goal. You've got Creswell, Oggy, Balbuena and Sofal. So we know for a fact that Sofal's not going to be dropped to Balbuena, Ogbonna, Creswell. Does he opt with the 5 at the back tomorrow against Southampton?
I think he will, because I think that's our most balanced formation this year.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think Ben Johnson done quite well at left back, to be honest, the left wing back role.
Yeah.
I just think it wouldn't surprise me if he dropped both Bowen and Noble tomorrow. There's 2 changes. When Lanzini came off the bench again, it gave you a ball carrier up the pitch.
Yep.
Which Noble just doesn't do. He doesn't carry the ball that well. I've said Bowen. He might start Bowen again. He seems to be one of Moyes' guys now, but I think he'll go back to the front 3 because you see the midfield 3 just doesn't work for us. It doesn't seem to, unless you're playing Lanzini there as number 10. Playing 3 centre mids just doesn't seem to work for us. It seems to make us far too defensive.
Yep.
And not enough cover for the centre forward.
But I can't help but think that when I look at the West Ham lineup and I think you want Haller up top, you want, what I've been crying out for the last couple of games, Benrahma and Lanzini in that supporting role, creativity, feeding him service left, right and centre. And, in an ideal world, you would have Bowen up there as well, but I'm starting to believe that he's maybe going to give Bowen a rest. I don't know where he's going to be at. And to be honest, each lineup, Matt, that we come across with David Moyes, it gets to that point where I'm starting to get unsure about what he's going to do. What starting 11 is he going to do? Is it going to be the same as the week before? But it's blatantly not, and it can't be. He's already spoken out now and said he's made the wrong decision, so he can't go into this game tomorrow and go and do the same thing. It can't be. Mark Noble can't start this game tomorrow, but it's about whether he plays Johnson on the left as well and or drops Bowen. And also, we've got to consider the fact that Fornals has got a strong work rate. He covers much ground in the park, and probably 9 times out of 10, Southampton's the game that you would probably want to see Fornals step up into. But the problem is then you're not going to feed Haller at all. And this comes down to the criticism, like we said in the preview. It's just constant. It's just constant criticism of Haller. I don't know if it's justified.
I said a comment on Stell's show last night that he'll go in the summer. I've no doubt about it. But he'll go somewhere else and he'll score goals. Because we have this thing here that we've done it for years now. We see centre forward with a big name. We splash the money. We bring them in. But we don't buy players to match the style of play that we have.
Yeah.
I know they're bigger teams. But Pep and Klopp, Man City, Liverpool, buy players that match their style of play. They buy players to suit the system. We don't. David goes, Sullivan just sees a player and goes, I could get him. There's the money. Here you go. Have a centre forward. He's done it with Hernandez. Didn't work. Done it with Haller. It's not worked. We could get that list up again. Is it 36, 38 strikers they bought in a decade?
Yeah.
And how many of them worked?
Yeah.
We don't buy centre forwards that work. And, then not only that, we spend the money on them, but we refuse to adapt the team to match their style of play. Different players have different styles of play. Don't get me wrong, they do. And Haller isn't an Antonio.
No.
Moyes wants an Antonio.
See if you look at this comment here from Mark Alexander, I wouldn't even be surprised if this is the lineup, to be honest, because I think I don't know if Moyes has got the balls to make 2 big decisions in a game. It's a little bit like, strike while hit a man when he's down, and it's a little bit like he's made the statement that he made the wrong decision to not have creativity. So by giving the fans and also his ego, whatever, and playing Lanzini in that position would cover that angle. But I just don't understand how there's been a couple of games that it's really suited Benrahma's style of play. He's not even remotely brought him on as a substitution. And how would that justify why he would start tomorrow? Because I can't see how Moyes would think that.
Dare say it, I just made the point that Haller doesn't match our style of play, right? Don't forget, and this is a bold statement, but Benrahma wasn't a David Moyes player. David Moyes didn't want Benrahma. David Moyes wanted Josh King. The board wanted Benrahma because they wanted to buy him, play well, and make profit on him.
Yeah.
So Moyes isn't going to play him for the sake of playing him. If Moyes doesn't trust him to do the job in the position he's in for the formation he wants and what he's expected to do, like I said about Southampton, they've got 2 players for every position. They know what their job is, and Hasenhüttl knows that it doesn't matter if he rotates it, drops it, switches it. The guy that comes in will do the job he's in the team to do. He knows what his role is. He knows what his job is.
Yeah.
Benrahma's we know him. Benrahma's like Payet. He was that little bit different. He was the guy that you let in your team to do whatever he wanted because he makes things happen.
Yeah.
You don't want him stuck out running up and down the left, covering 15 kilometres a game like Pablo Fornals, where he runs up and down, covers the left back, gets in the box but won't finish because he's not a natural finisher. You want Benrahma floating around the pitch, drifting onto the left, hanging up the pitch, sometimes not tracking back. David Moyes doesn't want that sort of player. So the fact that Benrahma's not playing in some ways doesn't surprise me.
But isn't it funny though, when you look through the comments, you see so many different opinions of the starting lineup tomorrow. I mean, we've not even talked about Yarmolenko, and I thought he actually performed really well. He created a goal when he came on. Him and Lanzini did do a bit of something different up there. You've got Fornals, we've just briefly mentioned. You've got Benrahma, and nearly everyone in the chat is having a different side that they want to see start tomorrow. And I've been bringing them up as we've been going along.
Yarmolenko's an interesting one, but this is everyone's got their own personal opinion. My personal opinion, I would never start Yarmolenko. Yeah. Personal opinion. Not that I don't think he's good enough. I think he's a great player. I just don't think for the physical aspects of the Premier League, he doesn't have the same impact for 90 minutes that he does for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I think he's far better for just the second half player.
Yeah.
I think when the defence gets a little bit leggy and he comes in with fresh legs, he makes things happen. He can play for 90 minutes, but I don't think he has the same impact.
Yeah. See the team that Stell's put up there, right? This is what I genuinely, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, Matt, this is what I genuinely think Moyes will do tomorrow. I think he will stick with the back 5 and keep Johnson in his role, Rice, Soucek in the performing role, and he'll try and give that creativity. I still think he'll stick with Bowen and bring Lanzini in for Noble. But the massive but is, and I'm going to make a big, bold statement here, I thought we saw Creswell performing reasonably well in a back 4. I know it's not a strength, but he was proving a lot of the fans that he can perform to that level in a back 4. We did it against Leeds, and we can perform with that side. In order to make what I ideally want, I'm not saying it's against Southampton, but I want Haller up top with Bowen, Lanzini, and Benrahma, Rice, Soucek, and then 4.
I see a problem with that, but Creswell wouldn't be in the back 4.
Yeah, but
Creswell would be gone.
But I can accept Creswell being in the back 4 for that because I think he would actually be okay. But we're talking about the game. We're talking about the game tomorrow. Ben Johnson is going to start, isn't he? There's a no-brainer there because he's had a good performance.
If you want to play the back 4 and you want to put more players, attacking players on the pitch, which I'm all up for, by the way, do it. But Creswell will be on the bench.
Yeah,
it would be Ben Johnson as the left of the back 4, which I've got no problem with, and that's nothing. I like Creswell. He's been a good servant. He's been here a long time, and he still deserves to be in the team.
Yeah,
but he just doesn't have the pace to play left back in the Premier League. He doesn't. It's why we got the best out of him playing as that left of the back 3.
I think it's time that we move on to get the predictions in. So get your predictions in for tomorrow night's game against Southampton. People, I mean, there's so many comments. I'm trying my best to keep up with the comments, but it's actually really tough. We're already an hour into our preview show that we've tried to promise that we could try and condense and bring down to 45 minutes. It's a physical impossibility. It is a physical, no word of a lie, impossibility. I think Stell's having a really, really, really negative impact on how we run these shows, etc. But anyway, Matt, people are coming in with their predictions for the game tomorrow. We are going with the fact that he is going to stick with a similar side except for maybe swap Noble for Lanzini. No, Lanzini for Noble. That's the only change that we think Moyes will do, but we would like a few other changes in there. So based upon that, what is your predictions for tomorrow night's game?
I'm going for Desmond. I'm going for Desmond.
Come on, give us something more than that.
I can't, not on that team. Not on that team, I can't. You have to always attack us on the bench again. We'll be lucky to score 2 goals, mate.
Yeah. This is where I'm at, right? if he does do Bowen, and he does keep Haller, and he does give Lanzini, and he does keep them there, he brings Lanzini into that side, I'm going to go into this game more confident. I'm still worried because it's Southampton, because I really genuinely am worried about it. I don't like to go for a negative result against West Ham, but I think Lanzini can make a difference. I ideally want Benrahma to start alongside Lanzini, but I don't see it happening. But I think there's going to be goals galore. I think we're going to go back to a bit of a goals galore, because West Ham are starting to sneakily concede goals again, Matt. We're making defensive errors again, because we're not now starting to be that confident in going forward, and we've got to outscore our opposition. And the fact that Brighton have been struggling all season to get goals and suddenly pop up and get... No, but they have.
Yeah,
they've created opportunities.
And like I said, I didn't see the game yesterday. I was at work. I saw some of the highlights. I managed to find some clips of it last night. And for all that we were poor, we didn't create much. I said I only saw like 3-4 minute highlights. We gave them the 2 goals. Like the first goal, we didn't cut the cross out, and then we made a tap in the box, blocked our own player, and the guy had a tap in.
That's what I mean, though.
The second goal, they had a short corner, and Soufal and Yarmolenko just let him take it short.
Yep.
And then they went to close down. Then it was too late, and even then we got unlucky because Souček cleared it straight into was it Lewis Dunk's forearm, which VAR somehow didn't give.
Yeah.
Even though Jamie Redknapp on the commentary afterwards said, "Oh yeah, no, it was a handball, but I'm glad that VAR didn't give it."
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So for as poor as we were yesterday, they scored 2. They didn't create a goal. We basically scrappily made mistakes and gave them 2 easy goals. So it's...
So you're going for a 2-2?
Yeah, I'm going for a 2-2 because they've got quality, Southampton.
Right.
But Vestergaard's going to be a big miss. But
what you've done is you've given me a scoreline that I like to take most weeks, and it's going to be a 3-2 to West Ham away from home. And I think, do you know what? At the end of the day, I think we've been performing well from away from home against sides. We can turn up. You know, I know there's no fans there, and I know that probably makes the whole thing a neutral venue, etc. But I think I'm just hoping that Moyes has learned his lesson from his team selection, and he can actually go, do you know what? We can. They've got, you know, they're missing some players, and it's an opportunity for us to bounce back. And this season, Matt, historically this season and since Project Restart, we do tend to bounce back. Whereas this time last year, we wouldn't bounce back from the run of games that we've been having. And that's going to be my concern. It depends on team selection. If it's the same team selection, I do think we will get beat. I genuinely do that. And that's not me completely digging out Mark Noble. But Mark Noble playing as a starter in our current 11 is not what helps the full 11 progress forward and attack. And we need to progress forward and attack.
Well, I made the same point after the Chelsea game, so my point still stands. That with that midfield 3, we haven't won this season. Rice, Noble and Souček as a midfield 3, we haven't won.
That's a big one there. Look at that. 4-0 West Ham if Lanzini starts. And I feel really bad. I said 4-0 against Brighton yesterday, but to be fair to me, I did say if Benrahma and Lanzini started, and they didn't.
There you go, mate. This one sort of sums you up.
So she's predicted 4-0 win v Brighton, then saw the team sheet and a draw was no surprise. Exactly, that is, you know, we share the same name, different spelling, but yeah, absolutely, mate. Completely agree with you. Words and pictures saying 2-1 Saints and West Ham fan base explode. I mean...
look, that's Twitter anyway. That's
Twitter, yeah.
You do not get... It's not full of positivity, Twitter, and West Ham base is very much polar up and down. But look, 22 points for 15 games. I think it took us 20 games or 21 games to get the same amount of points last year.
Yeah.
We've done it 5-6 games earlier. We're having a meltdown because he rotated twice and we've done poorly. I mean, not being funny... I mean, we've done the preview for the Brighton game, and you showed us the last 3 games have finished in draws.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it's not a surprise that we.
Not a surprise that it finished in a draw. Yeah. Well, listen. Look, I mean, come on, David. I'm not happy with this. Pam, I'm not happy with this. But Bat, are you ready for a laugh? I seem to manage with the comments. You're just lazy, Anton. Yes, but you stay on for 4 bloody hours, and I don't have 4 bloody hours.
Still, yesterday had a 45-minute show. Right. He done 45 minutes of actual. Bringing news to the audience. He spent 2 hours.
To be fair, listen, I'm going to stick up
and didn't even finish.
I'm going to stick up for him. I'm going to stick up for him slightly. People do like to engage with the comments. I have no problem. I have no problem engaging with the comments. But we're an hour and 6 minutes, and I've got some telly I need to watch. I've got a cup of tea I need to drink. I've got a beer I need to drink. I've got some snacks I want to eat. And yeah, and we're doing shows tomorrow. And on that, you need to come and join us tomorrow for the Matchday Live. Please come and join us tomorrow for the Matchday Live. And do you know what, Matt? I think it's time that you're around tomorrow, aren't you, for the game?
Yes.
I was just going to say to you, I don't even need to ask you. Are we going to have a beverage while we're watching the game? Try and have a bit of a laugh. We'll try and get Stell. Try and get some of the lads in, more lads involved for tomorrow night's game. It's 6 o'clock kickoff, so try and join us, and we will have a bit of a laugh here. M. Ratchford is 2-1 West Ham. Vaclav, hope you're well, mate. Glad you're watching with us again. Hit the thumbs up, all that sort of stuff. Stell's just copied you, Matt, with a 2H. Kamara must be playing tonight, Anton. Scott, we can beat Southampton. I think we can, all depending on team lineup, and because my other fear is we line up in a positive manner, but we have again changed the side again. We don't get a result tomorrow, and the fan base implode, and then start to blame Moyes again and again and again. Whereas we just need consistency with team selection. We need to fall back to that consistency. We went through the early part of the season with no injuries, Matt. But we always knew the minute we would hit an injury, we didn't have strength and depth, and we didn't have other options, and we didn't have other formations that we could play.
Look, we've done well. We have done well. And look, as I said, the thing I don't mind is that he made the changes, and he done something that managers don't normally do. End of the game, he held his hand up and said, "I got it wrong. I changed it. I got it wrong." You didn't see that under Pellegrini. Pellegrini played Roberto for 8 games in a row, and he got him fired because he refused to accept that Roberto couldn't be a goalkeeper.
Yeah,
Moyes done it. He done it and said, "Look, I got it wrong." The thing I don't want to see is if he changes it. If he did, and he's not going to do it. If he changed it tomorrow and went 4-4-2 and put all the attackers on, and then we lost 4-3, and everyone's ranting and raving that we're shipping goals left, right, and centre, and da-da-da. You can't have it both ways. You can't have him put all the defenders on and then get a boring draw and moan that we've drawn. And if we put the attackers on and we lose because we're wide open, you can't sit there and moan that we've been blown apart. You have to reward him for even putting the attackers on, or you can moan at him and be grumpy because we've gone defensive and taken the point.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
It's finding the balance. And when we're short of players, which we're short anyway, I mean, don't forget, was it the Chelsea game? We had 2 goalkeepers on the bench because we haven't got any more players.
Richard, you're my best mate. I know you always love my shows. I know you love when I come on. What is this, Anton? Has to learn English, so read them yourself. Listen, you all realise that we take the banter well. We just done the wind up. We always have a bit of a laugh, and I hope you enjoy it. And genuinely, it is a bit of a laugh. Stealth speaks to me every single day and asks me to write a script, and myself and Matt put his script together for the West Ham Weekly, and we say to him and guide him, and we try and give him a bit more confidence when he's in front of camera. And we know he struggles sometimes, and we're there for a moral support. And that's why you always hear Stealth saying someone's on the chat, backing him up and all that, giving him support, don't we, Matt? So we'll get writing his script for his next West Ham Weekly. I'm only joking. I won't take it away from Stell. He is good and he does engage with the fan base. And yes, it is very good. But we're still going on and we're rambling again. Mate, you talk so much bollocks. Honestly,
he does 3 hours every Sunday.
If you watched our. Oh, Matt, what was our group chats like? When Stell was always in our group chats, you'd be like this with a fishing rod. You just laugh all the time.
We did mention Winston Reid, and that was it. We was off at the races.
Oh, honestly, it's brilliant. But Stell is the best. Stell for president, yes, Stell's the best. But you know what they say about presidents? They always say that it's not really them that make the decisions. It's always the people in the background. So that's
they're just for show.
Yeah, they're just for show. Anyway, I'm going for a West Ham victory tomorrow. We need to stick Dalek, mate. Do you like me? Just be honest. Just put it out there, Dalek, because you constantly remind me that I am not number 1. I'm not number 2. I'm not number 3. I'm not number 4. I'm not number 5 or number 6. Just tell me what number I am, and then we can go from there. Daddy UK. Still isn't on Instagram. I don't even know if he knows what Instagram is.
Too old for that, mate.
Yeah. Anyway, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you keep the comments coming in. And as Stell says, the beer mugs are coming apparently. But we have still got mugs for sale. Head over to the shop, etc. I have to bring this up. I have to bring that up. I fell asleep during Stell's live last night. Woke up 3 hours later and he was still on. Honestly, it was brilliant. Anyway, we're totally wumbling here. Tomorrow we're coming to you with a match day live. We're gonna have a bit of a laugh and fingers crossed we can try and get a result tomorrow. So hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, keep the comments coming in, and join us tomorrow. And fingers crossed we can get a result in Moyes. Do I say this comment? In Moyes we trust. Not sure, but Gary, yes, we do ship to the USA. If you go onto the website, you will see a link below each of the mugs that you like. It takes you to a link where you actually send an email to the Irons United email account, and then we've got the price and cost of shipping to all the countries there. So yeah, get in contact with us. Anyway, I've been Anton, he's been Matt. This is West Ham Irons United. Come on, you Irons. Come on, you Irons!